I'm Tony Robbins, and if you're here right now, it means something inside you is still alive. There's a fire, a hunger, a restlessness that refuses to die. Maybe the world tried to dim your light. Maybe life tried to knock you flat. Maybe you've tasted failure so many times you're starting to believe that success is for someone else. But let me tell you something from the bottom of my heart, you are not here by accident. There is a reason you pressed play. A reason you're listening, a reason you haven't given up. Because deep down, even if you've been doubting yourself for years, there is still a spark in you, a spark that can become a fire. And today, right now, we're going to reignite it. Now, I've spent over 4 decades in this field, studying human behavior, coaching millions of people from world leaders to entrepreneurs, from Olympic athletes to people who were just down on their luck and looking for a breakthrough. And in all that time, I've seen one pattern over and over and over again. 2% of people rise, the other 98% settle. 2% live life on their terms, 98% follow someone else's script. 2% take control, 98% make excuses. 2% win, 98% wonder why they don't, and it's not about intelligence, it's not about luck, it's not about the family you were born into. The truth is, the 2% think and act completely differently from the 98%. That's it. It's not magic, it's mindset, it's habits, it's execution, it's hunger, it's emotional mastery, it's decision. You want to know why only 2% succeed? Because only 2% are willing to do what 98% won't. Period. Let me take you back for a moment. I didn't grow up with money. I grew up with chaos. There were nights where we didn't have food. There were moments I felt hopeless. But I made a decision that I wasn't going to live like that. I decided I was going to take control of my mind, my body, my focus, my future. That one decision changed my life forever, and I'm here to tell you, your past does not define you. Your current circumstances do not define you. What defines you is what you do next. You want to break into that 2%, then you better stop waiting for life to hand it to you. You better stop playing small. You better stop shrinking to fit into the mold that makes other people comfortable. Because success is not convenient, success is not comfortable. Success doesn't show up for the person who's lukewarm, casual, or occasionally committed. It shows up for the obsessed, the disciplined, the relentless. Let me be brutally honest with you. Most people fail because they're addicted to comfort. Most people fail because they wait for motivation. Most people fail because they're afraid of looking stupid. Most people fail because they'd rather be liked than be great. Most people fail because they listen to the wrong voices, and I don't mean other people. I mean the voices in their own head. Do you know what the 2% do? They train that voice, they command that voice, they master that voice, they become the boss of their mind, because success begins in your mind. If you're losing in your mind, you're going to lose in life. But if you can win in your mind, you can create anything, and I mean anything. Listen to me, the 98% chase, the 2% create, the 98% consume, the 2% contribute, the 98% complain, the 2% condition themselves to lead, the 98% wait, the 2% take massive action. The world is full of people with potential, but potential means nothing without execution, nothing. You know what the most expensive place on earth is? The graveyard. Why? Because it's full of unrealized dreams, unwritten books, unsung songs, unstarted businesses, and untapped genius, all buried under the weight of fear, procrastination, and playing small. You want to escape that fate? Then you have to stop negotiating with your limitations. Stop asking for permission. Stop needing people to validate you before you take action. Because the 2%, they don't wait for confidence. They move in spite of fear. They move through discomfort. They move when it's messy, when it's hard, when it's uncertain. You know what separates the people who make it and those who don't. Standards, not dreams, not vision boards. Not good intentions, standards. The 2% live with standards that most people think are crazy. They wake up earlier, they train harder, they focus longer, they tolerate zero excuses, they keep their word. They finish what they start, and guess what? That's not luck, that's not talent, that's a decision to operate at a level most people won't even attempt. You're not tired, you're uninspired. You're not broken, you're untrained, you're not unworthy, you're undisciplined. But here's the good news that can all change today, because success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. When you become a person who refuses to be average, life responds, opportunities respond, people respond, energy shifts, but you can't fake it. You can't dabble. You've got to be all in. You've got to say, I will not live like the 98%. I'm done tolerating mediocrity. I'm done being a victim of my feelings. I'm done running from discomfort. If you want to be in the 2%, you've got to stop blaming and start building. Stop whining and start winning. Stop surviving and start leading. Stop fantasizing and start executing. No more sitting on the sidelines. No more waiting for perfect conditions. No more listening to that voice that says, maybe later, maybe someday. Someday is not a day of the week. Someday is where dreams go to die. Now I want you to pause and breathe. Right here, right now, ask yourself, what is the life I've been tolerating? What is the lie I've been telling myself? What is the story I need to rewrite starting today? And here's the real question. Am I ready to become the person who deserves the life I want? Because success isn't about what you get, it's about who you become. You don't get what you want, you get what you tolerate. You don't get your goals, you get your standards. That's what makes the 2% different. Their standards are higher, their hunger is greater, their commitment is non-negotiable, and if you're still listening, I know you've got that inside of you. You wouldn't still be here if you didn't. Now let's break this wide open. We're just getting started. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear, but the truth has never cared about being popular. Most people wake up every day with a routine they didn't consciously choose. They wake up in reaction mode. They roll over, hit snooze, check their phone, scroll through nonsense, feed their mind junk before they feed their body. And they wonder why life feels heavy, why they're stuck, why nothing changes. You cannot live like the 98% and expect the results of the 2%. That's insanity, that's delusion. You want a different life. You need to become a different version of yourself. You can't take that lazy, distracted, overwhelmed, reactive version of you and expect to build a legacy. You need to upgrade not just your strategy, but your identity. The core of who you are, because the 2%, they're not playing the same game. They're not driven by comfort. They're driven by purpose. They're not scrolling, they're studying. They're not avoiding pain. They're pursuing growth, they're not worried about fitting in, they're focused on standing out, and here's the kicker, the 2% are not fearless, they're just more committed to their vision than they are to their fear. They feel the fear, and they move anyway, they're not waiting to feel ready, they're not waiting for the nerves to go away, they've trained themselves to dance with discomfort, they've learned that the obstacle is the way. They've built emotional muscle, that's what separates them. Emotional fitness is everything. I'm not talking about positive thinking, I'm talking about mental conditioning. You have to train your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. Life will test you, life will punch you in the gut, it will strip away your comfort, and in those moments most people collapse, they fold, they retreat, they say, why me? But the 2%, they ask a better question. They say, what is this trying to make of me? What strength is being born in me right now? How do I turn this pain into power? Your questions shape your destiny. You ask weak questions, you get weak answers. You ask empowering questions, you get breakthrough solutions. So what are you asking yourself daily? Why am I stuck? Or how can I rise? Why don't they believe in me? Or how can I believe in myself so deeply that no one else's opinion matters? The quality of your life is the quality of your questions. You want to join the 2%. You need to shift your questions, shift your standards, shift your identity, and then back it all with relentless execution. Execution eats theory for breakfast. Everybody's got ideas. Everybody's got a dream. You know how many people come up to me and say, Tony, I've got $1 million idea. Great, where's your $1 million execution? Dreams without action are fantasies, and most people are living in fantasy land, pretending they're just being patient. No, they're being paralyzed, they're not waiting, they're avoiding, and they mask it with perfectionism, procrastination, and planning forever without pulling the trigger. That's not strategy, that's fear in disguise. The 2% don't wait for perfect plans. They start, they fail forward, they course correct fast, they learn from the mess, because momentum is magic. The more you move, the more you learn, the more clarity you get. And the world gets out of the way for people who know where they're going and are willing to pay the price. Let me break this down further. You cannot have transformation without sacrifice. You cannot grow without resistance. You cannot become who you're meant to be without letting go of who you used to be. So what are you willing to give up? Because the 2%, they give up the short-term dopamine for long-term fulfillment. They give up the applause of the crowd for the alignment with their calling. They give up cheap habits for rich discipline. You've got to ask yourself, what do I need to let go of to rise? The excuses. The stories, the laziness, the victim mindset, because here's the thing, nobody's coming to save you. Not your boss, not the government, not your partner, not some future version of you who magically has it all figured out. You are it, the same power that lives in every world-class performer, every visionary, every outlier lives in you. But you've got to unleash it, you've got to train it, you've got to own it. That means rewiring your belief systems. Most people are walking around with mental software that was installed in childhood and never updated. They're running on programs that say, I'm not enough, I'll never succeed, success is for other people, I don't have what it takes. That's not truth. That's programming, and the good news, you can rewrite it. Neuroscience proves this. You're not fixed, your brain is plastic. You can reshape how you think, feel, and act. But it requires repetition, intensity, and consistency. It requires immersion, just like learning a language or training your body, and that's why most people fail. They dabble, they try it once. They expect transformation without repetition, but transformation doesn't happen in one shot. It happens from conditioning. Think about it like this. You don't go to the gym once and expect to be fit forever. You don't eat one healthy meal and think your health is dialed in. Success works the same way. It's not one seminar, it's not one book, it's not one breakthrough, it's a lifestyle. You need rituals. You need a routine that wires in the 2% mindset. You need to start your day like a leader, not a follower. Prime your mind, move your body, feed your spirit, command your focus. The 98% react to their day. The 2% create their day. The 98% are emotionally triggered all day. The 2% respond with intention. The 98% drift. The 2% design. You can't coast your way to greatness. You can't wing it and wonder why it's not working. You need to operate with precision, with vision, with intensity, with hunger, because hunger is everything. You've got to want it more than your excuses, more than your comfort, more than your distractions. That hunger, that fire has to live in your gut every single day. That's what drives the 2%. They're not lukewarm. They're obsessed, and if that word scares you, obsessed, good. It should, because obsession isn't a flaw. It's a superpower when it's aligned with purpose. You think Elon Musk isn't obsessed, Serena Williams. Steve Jobs' opera. These people live and breathe their mission. They're not playing to look good. They're playing to leave a legacy. You want that? Then stop apologizing for wanting more. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop acting like ambition is a crime. You were born to lead, born to rise, born to break cycles, born to build something that outlives you, but only if you decide, not someday. Now, right now is the moment you draw the line. The line between average and excellence, between excuses and execution, between the 98% and the 2%. And here's the truth, most people won't make that decision, not because they can't, but because they won't. They'll stay trapped in stories, trapped in fear, trapped in comfort, and 10 years from now, they'll wonder what could have been, but not you, not if you decide. You know, most people don't fail because they don't have a dream. They fail because they don't have a plan backed by unbreakable commitment. They think motivation is the fuel. It's not. Motivation is like a spark. It lights the fire, but it dies without action. You don't build a fire with sparks. You build it with fuel, with repetition, with systems, with standards. I'll tell you something, and listen to me closely now. Discipline will take you places motivation never could. When you're tired, discipline steps in. When you're scared, discipline keeps going. When the voices in your head say you're not enough, discipline drowns them out with action. That's the difference. The 98% do things when they feel like it. The 2% do it regardless of how they feel. Feelings are not the leader you are. Feelings follow action. Stop waiting to feel like it. Start moving and the feeling will follow. Stop negotiating with your goals. Stop dancing with your doubts. It's time to draw that invisible line in your life that says, this is where it ends. This is where I stop settling. This is where I take back control. Because that's what it is, control. The 2% take control of their time, their energy, their focus, their finances, their mind, their body. They're not perfect, but they are intentional and they are consistent. And that combination, that's the 1-2 punch that changes lives. Consistency is a superpower in a world addicted to quick fixes. You want long-term success. Be willing to do the boring stuff consistently. Be willing to do what's required, not just what's exciting. Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally, it comes from what you do repeatedly. The 98% are emotionally driven, the 2% are mission driven. You want to be in the 2%, then make your mission bigger than your mood. Stop saying, "I don't feel like it." That phrase has destroyed more potential than any failure ever could. It's a trap, it's an excuse, it's the enemy of greatness, and the worst part, it feels reasonable. That's what makes it so dangerous. It sounds like it makes sense, but it doesn't. It's a lie dressed up in logic. You don't rise by reasoning with your limits, you rise by breaking them. Now let's get real for a second. Let's stop pretending. If you're not where you want to be financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, it's not because you're broken. It's because there's a gap between what you say you want and what you're actually doing. And I say this with love, but also with truth. You are where you are because of your patterns of thinking, your patterns of behavior, your patterns of reaction. You don't get what you want. You get your patterns, change your life, and that starts with a decision, a real decision, one that cuts off all other options. The word decision comes from the Latin root decidere, which means to cut off. When you decide, you cut off any possibility of going back. Most people never decide, they dabble, they try, they dip their toe in, but nothing changes until you get to that place where you say, "I am done living like this. I am done repeating the same story. I am done watching other people pass me by." That's when the game changes. You want to know how the 2% think? They don't hope, they own, they don't try, they train, they don't wish, they work, they don't fear failure, they leverage it. Failure isn't final, failure isn't fatal. Failure is the price of progress. The 98% run from it, the 2% run through it. They understand that pain is part of the process, and if you're not willing to feel the pain of discipline, you'll end up living with the pain of regret. Regret is the most expensive emotion on earth. You can recover from a loss, you can recover from a mistake, but when you look back 10, 20, 30 years and realize you never really tried, you never gave it everything, that kind of regret eats you from the inside out. And I don't want that for you. That's why I'm speaking to you this way, because I've been with people in their final moments. I've held their hands when they said, "I wish I had lived fully. I wish I hadn't been so afraid. I wish I had bet on myself." Don't wait until the end to realize that you were meant for more. Don't die with your music still in you. You're not here to just exist. You're here to evolve, to expand, to contribute, to lead, and that requires one thing above all else: ownership. The 2% take full ownership of their life. They don't blame, they don't point fingers, they don't live in victimhood. They understand that everything in their life, good or bad, is either something they created or allowed. And if they created it, they can recreate it. If they allowed it, they can eliminate it. That's freedom. Responsibility is freedom. You are one decision away from a completely different life, but it's not a someday decision. It's not a maybe next week a decision, it's a right now decision. You can change your identity today, you can shift your trajectory today. Don't wait for rock bottom to wake you up. Create a new bottom right now. Create a new standard right now. Create a new level of urgency right now. Because guess what? Time is not unlimited. I know we like to act like we've got forever, but you don't. None of us do. And if you knew you only had 5 years left, how would you live? You'd stop wasting time. You'd stop waiting for permission. You'd stop playing small, you'd move, you'd act, you'd live on fire, and that's what I want for you. Not just success, not just money, not just external results. I want you to live lit up. I want you to become so aligned, so locked in, so clear that life feels like a mission, not a burden, but it starts with the smallest shifts. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. But you have to do something today, even if it's small, because small hinges swing big doors. Start the morning differently, have that hard conversation, make that scary investment, take that cold shower. Send that message, launch that idea, delete that app, join that mastermind, walk away from that toxic habit. Whatever it is, do something, get momentum, because motion creates emotion, and progress is the ultimate drug. Once you taste it, you won't want to go back. Your soul doesn't want safety, it wants expansion, and expansion requires risk. It requires courage, it requires faith. You were not built to play small. You were not born to blend in. You were created to lead, to influence, to create, to transform. But that only becomes real when you get serious about joining the 2%, and not just for a day, not just when it's easy, but for life. That's the difference.